Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we're going to be working on some transmission stuff for the Turbo 400. So let's go over to the table. I'll show you what we got going on. I didn't film taking this transmission apart. It's pretty straightforward. The biggest piece of advice I could give you is take your valve body off and take out the center support bolt. So when you start pulling all the parts out, this will hold your center support and you won't be able to get the lower unit out until you get this bolt out. But basically, what I did is I took everything out and laid it out in orders that come out of the transmission. Now I went ahead and took the clutches out of the forward drum, and I've got the direct drum and some other things just laid out here. But when I got to the end here, I started over and got everything laid out, made me a few notes. The bevel goes to the top. I do have an ATSG manual to help me put it back together. But as you can see, what we're going to work on today is we're going to cut down the case to fit this ATI bell housing. We've got some other good parts. We've got the Sonax forward clutch hub. We're going to drill and tap the case at the vent. We're going to drill and tap at 1/8 pipe thread for a remote overflow vent later. I do have some new clutches and steels, as well as the full manual reverse valve body from TCI that we're going to install later, not today. But as you can see, I got the full rebuild kit here. I've got some other parts. My lower reaction carrier was pretty scarred up, so I had to order one. I ordered a new used one from a guy on the Turbo 400 Builders Forums on Facebook. His name is Richard Goemaat. Ordered several parts from him. He specializes in a lot of used transmission parts. I'll leave his name and number in the link in the description below. The rebuild kit, this kit here with all the seals and bushings and clutches and steels, actually came from a place not too far from home here in Shoals, Alabama. A place called PTC. You guys are probably familiar with PTC converters. This is PTC over in Muscle Shoals. Donna and Tommy and all those guys. I called them on the phone, told them what I needed. They put together a kit for me and got it shipped over. I think I ordered it on like a Monday and had it on my doorstep on Wednesday. So not sponsored by any of these guys, not sponsored by Richard Goemaat or PTC, just letting you know they're good folks to deal with. Richard actually talked to him on the phone about these parts. He actually answered the phone. I got to talk to a real live person instead of pressing one to talk to somebody. I get to talk to a real person, as well as PTC. When I called and had questions about what I was doing and what I needed, they walked me through everything, told me they could put together everything I needed, and it was nice to be able to chat with someone that could help me with all that stuff. So without further ado, what we'll do is we'll get this case. This case is a good case. I'm not going to cut this one, but as you can see from this one here, it's got a damaged bell housing. So we're going to cut this case off. We're going to install the ATI bell housing, get this thing painted, and that'll be what this video is about, getting this trimmed. So I had another case I actually purchased from Richard Goemaat. I hope I'm not butchering your last name, Richard. But it was already cut because it had a cracked bell housing. But for those of you that might be cutting a brand new bell housing or one similar to this one that's cracked, I wanted to do the full tutorial on how to do that, because there's some lugs inside here. Those 3 lugs right there, and right there that have to come off for this ATI, because it does not bolt on like a Ultra Bell. Not familiar with Ultra Bell, but when I was looking for a aftermarket bell housing, this bell housing here does not have the O-rings like an Ultra Bell. It has a gasket similar to a front pump gasket that goes on the front pump. New bolts go through it, and then it's got all new hardware and everything with it. So that's what we're going to do. So let me get this case off of this mount. I'm going to take everything outside because I don't want aluminum dust all in here. Try to keep things clean. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll get this off the stand. We'll get this one outside. We'll mark it and cut it, drill and tap the vent, and get started. Okay. Basically what I did, I took a tape measure and measured from here, and I marked out 2 inches. And I think that's going to be a very liberal amount to leave for this particular bell housing. Now, if you've got an Ultra Bell or another brand name bell housing, aftermarket bell housing, check the directions, because I've never done this, and I think this is going to be really close on an ATI. I've watched other videos and they said you can't even get close with an ATI. You have to flush it off with here. But we're going to try to leave some bell housing. Even though this is just cosmetic looking, I do like the look of the bell housing wrapping up around the aftermarket bell housing. These 3 notches, I've got these marked. I'm going to use a Dremel to cut these, and I think I'm going to use a cutoff wheel to cut this. I hear most folks on YouTube, they use a Sawzall, but let me get this cut off and I'll tell you what I used and what worked best for me. And we'll go ahead and cut these lugs off, and then we'll start fitting the bell housing to the case. Okay guys, I tried the Sawzall. As you can see, it got to jerk. I felt like I had more control with the cutoff wheel. I know a lot of guys say they do it with a Sawzall. I just felt like I could cut a straighter line with a cutoff wheel. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fiber disc on my Dremel and cut these lugs off. Be careful here. Don't get down into the case where the pump sealing surface is. You only want to flush these off at the top for the ATI bell housing. Again, I don't know about the Ultra Bell, but this is probably going to be very time consuming. Take your time. This is probably way larger than I need, but I can take a flat wheel and cut down to where I need and make it look cosmetically and aesthetically good or pleasing. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to cut these lugs off, then we'll start fitting the bell housing. Okay, we got those cut down flush, nice and flush with the Dremel, being extra careful not to nick anything inside the sealing area. Next thing we're going to do is flip this thing up, put the pan on it. We'll make our cut across here, then we'll start fitting the ATI bell housing. Okay guys, I'm going to throw some photos up right here, and I'm going to show you. I just took a straight edge and marked across the top of the pan, and I'm going to cut down into the sides, and I'll take the photos down here in just a second and show you what I'm talking about. So if you look, right here with the level, the straight part of the case, I mean, not the pan, the case, I scribed me a line. I'm going to come down underneath, and I'm just going to cut through, let me back up, just going to cut through this, and I'm just going to nib it off right here. That way I've still got enough case here to do whatever I need to do. Same thing on this side. I'm going to come across my scribe line, come down, right down through here, and I'm going to cut off right here. That way I can leave enough case here to do whatever I want to with. Plus, when you get done, you're going to have this little piece hanging off. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off flush with the case and round the corners right here. So let me get that cut out, and we'll turn you back on and show you what we've got. Okay guys, here's where we're at. We've got the pan cut fairly straight. I'm going to smooth this up. But you can see what I did here. I just notched these off, and it's going to hit down in here. So I'm going to cut this out. This side over here looks good. But I think 2 inches is a little much, but I'd rather have enough to cut off and trim is not enough. So we're going to see how this gap turns out. I know everybody's concerned about the gap. Some guys don't care about the gap. But I think I'm going to back up and cut another probably 1/2 inch off. So that'll make it 1.5 inches. And then we'll start fitting this down onto the case. Stay tuned, guys. Okay, I finally got it cut down, and got the ATI Bellhousing fitted. I had to run to town a few minutes ago. I'm glad I got you back in the shop because it is 93 degrees here in Alabama. I had to run, ironically, to town and pick up my Chevy pickup truck. The transmission was out of it, and I don't know how to build a 6L80, so I'm going to stick to these 400s. But let me get the bell housing. I'll get it put on here, show you my gap, and then I'm going to drill and tap for the vent tube, and that'll end out the video. I'm going to also stone the valve body. I've got like a sharpening stone. I'm going to spray it down with WD-40 and stone it and clean it. The next time you see this, it'll all be painted. I'm going to take the shift rod out, put new seal in there. We're going to pressure wash it, get it painted, and then start putting it together. So that'll be in the upcoming videos. So let me stop rambling and get this bell housing set on here. I've got some locating pins put here, and this is an old pump I had off of another old 400. I used it to mock it up so I wouldn't get trash all down in my other bell house or in my other pump. So let me take you off the tripod and show you what I wound up with. I think it turned out really, really well. It's got a good even gap all the way around. I know a lot of guys talk about you don't need that. You can cut it way down here, but I like the looks of that. If I can get you out of the sunshine, I can show you what it looks like up and underneath on both sides. And that's what the bell housing looks like. Turned out great in my opinion. Let me give you a shot of the pan rail. Nice and straight all the way across. You've seen the pictures. I just put a ruler, a steel yardstick across here and scribed a line, took my cutoff wheel. Again, I tried that Sawzall. It's just too jerky. I feel like I have more control, like I said earlier, with a cutoff wheel. So I did that, and then I took a flap wheel when I got close here, and I just kept marking it with a Sharpie, and I can just take a little off with a flap wheel and get it nice snug fit. So I'll quit rambling. I'm going to drill that. I'll show you how to drill this up here. You got to go at an angle, and you want it to come out inside the pump. You don't want it to. You want to leave enough gasket space up here, and I'll show you. Let me get you set up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I had to take you off the transmission stand. My drill wouldn't fit with it clamped in the holding fixture, but there's the overflow vent tube, and as you can see up at the top, that's what I was talking about. I'll get you out of the sunshine. There's a sealing surface up here. You don't want to drill up into that. You want to come down at an angle. So let me get you set up on the tripod here, and I'll show you how we're going to drill it. Basically, you want your drill at just a little bit of an angle. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. You can't see that. Let me lay it down and show you what your drill is going to look like. So your drill is going to be at an angle out away from the case like this. Not that much exaggerated, but enough where your chuck won't hit it, and you've got a little bit of an angle, so when you come out the other side here, that you're not up into the sealing area. So let's get this drilled, get it tapped, and we'll finish out the video. Okay guys, one thing I wanted to show you. I stopped drilling for a second, but I'm right up over the top of the transmission. What I want to show you is I drilled it at an angle. If you can see, focus, down in the hole, the top of my drill bit is at the top of the hole on the inside, so that gives me the most sealing area on the other side. Now I'm not all the way through, and you don't have to drill all the way through because you're not going to tap all the way through. So let me get it finished out, and I'll show you what it looks like. Actually, I want to show you how I tap it, because you don't want to run. I'll just tell you. Let me back up. Okay. You don't want to run this tap all the way through that hole. You're going to get somewhere probably halfway, maybe even a little over half, to where about that much of your tap is still showing. If you tap this all the way in, your fitting is not going to tighten up and you're going to have leak problems. So you want to leave the taper part, enough taper in it so your threads will seal. So let me get it installed. I'll show you what it looks like. And here's how we're going to end out the video. So as you can see, my hole came out right at the top of the factory hole. So still have the exact same amount of mating surface as this Turbo 400 came from the factory by drilling at that angle. You'll just have to look at it and eyeball it and make sure you don't drill, like I said, don't drill up into the top here and take away your sealing surface. But I installed the fitting. I still have a few threads left. I can still tighten it up. Again, do not tap all the way through with your tap. You'll have a loose fitting and then it'll leak. I'm going to use a remote catch can. I'm going to put a piece of 1/4 inch tube, mount my catch can to the firewall. Even rebuilding a transmission, I believe I would have put this in rather than that flexible piece of brittle plastic tube. Some of them had steel tubes. Both the transmission housings I had plastic. So if I was rebuilding one, I'd put this one in anyway. The only things we got left before we can paint, I've got to take out the shifter rod so I can put a seal in here. I'm going to spray the valve body mating surface down with some WD-40. We're going to take a stone and we're going to stone this smooth. Pressure wash it, get it clean, get all these metal shavings out of here. Not shavings, actually powder, that aluminum dust that from grinding all this down. We'll get it all cleaned, and the next time you see it, like I said, it'll be painted. I've got a 4L80E drum. We're going to upgrade. I just got off the phone with PTC. Keith, thank you for all your time explaining to me the clutch stack up in a 4L80 that goes into a Turbo 400. Thanks all the people over at PTC. Donna, LaGale, Lisa, Dustin, Kenny, Tommy, and I think that's all the ones that I've talked to. If there's more that works there, I'm sure I'll be talking to them, asking them some questions in the future, because I got a lot of questions about this transmission. But thanks to all you guys. Thanks to Richard Goemaat for some of the parts I've ordered from him as well. And that's going to end out the video. Stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button if you want to see some upcoming content and watch me put this transmission together. So that's what we're going to be doing. So thanks for stopping in, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.